Ladies and gentlemen, welcome along. 8 p.m. Monday night, the Online Darts Live Lounge returns. Myself, Phil Bars, Dan Simpson. And don't worry, everyone, God will be here at some point. He's just been slightly delayed whilst picking up a sofa. Don't worry, we'll let it all in. Dan, how are we doing?
Very well, mate. Yeah, really good. The weather is still remarkably fine up in the northeast. We've had gorgeous weather. I'm off work, so I'm having a lovely time. Yeah, darts has been good over the weekend. All is well. How are you after a long trip home?
Yeah, I'm good. Tired, but good. Yeah, it was an amazing trip, an amazing city. And we'll talk about the darts more later on, but I just think it was an incredible weekend for darts and what potentially comes in the future. Just amazing scenes. I'm loving the guitars behind you as well, by the way.
Yeah, well, I did tell you if I got the time, then we were in the middle of a bit of a rework, and this is so I've been off work, so the drills, the tools have been out. You can't see, but there's some new pick. I mean, you maybe see if I ever move you around a little bit, but there's some records gone up and some pictures up, and I've had a busy old day to just getting everything sorted in the dining room. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, look, 100%. Let's jump into the chat room as well. How are we doing, Dale? Hope you are good. Malachi is in. James, Mark, good evening. Daniel, Cameron, David, Matthew, good evening. Warren, Adam, how are we doing? Owen, it's good to meet you as well. Bill in New York. I'm just about to share some links on social as well. So it'd be great if you could give us a little like and subscribe where you can, everyone. But yeah, no, it's been good. Did you miss me last Monday? Like a freaking hole in the head.
I think we got through it. Is probably the best way to describe it. A few teething problems with Gob's internet. It was nice to be back at home. I'd had a challenge the week before with the hotel Wi-Fi, so it was one of these weeks. We'll get just a settled, normal 3-person standard start, won't we?
Yeah, at some point we'll get one, no doubt. I'm not saying when, but you never know. At some point we may get one.
We'll all get it working properly.
Yeah, work in progress and all that. How are we doing, Brock? Hope you are good. I'll start that. We'll come on to that near the end of the show. MSG or the morning side. Tough one.
Oh, I don't need to get the coin toss out for that, do I? I don't need to toss a coin on that one.
No. Nice day. Yeah. First of all, apologies that the Live Lounge Live worked and it didn't. So we got everything. We tested the day before. Got everything set up, and literally 10 minutes before we were due to go live, there was one fuck off great big storm over New York, and it literally killed everything. To the point where the weather was that bad, right? How much do you reckon Ubers went up, right? Bearing in mind, from the hotel to the venue, it was a mile in a straight line.
Oh, see, I know the answer to this, so we'll have to put that one into the chat room. Yeah. I know the answer to that quiz question.
Yeah, right. How much do you reckon it was? This is how bad the weather was. Literally, thunder, lightning all the way across the sky, flash floods. Don't get me wrong, incredible to watch. But it was absolutely ridiculous.
America is. It seems like regardless of where you go in America, whether you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, you do tend to encounter more extreme weather than you would ever think. Like the snow that they get and the storms that they get. And again, if you go further south, the heat they get and the rain that they get, and parts of it are practically tropical. It's an incredibly, compared to what we're used to here in the UK, where things are either grey or grey and wet, then there are some quite extreme weather conditions that they have to contend with over there, aren't they?
Absolutely mental. Good, but mental. So yeah, it was good, but yeah. So $90 they wanted for a mile trip.
Oh, salty.
Yeah, 100%. It was ridiculous. How are we doing, Jar? How are we doing? Bosh, good evening. Unfortunately, Adam, I didn't, but I would have absolutely loved to have gone. We'll come on to that in a minute. But first of all, let's start with the weekend as a whole. And yet again, the overdrive media machine that was on show at the weekend was incredible from the PDC and where they got players into to promote the sport in North America. They were at the Jets again, massive radio shows, massive news channels. And look, I know we laugh and joke about stuff and Gob hates it and thing, but the fact that they got to go to WWHQ is freaking massive for the sport.
Oh, it's just in terms of just you look at the promotion that they, that anything, and it's not a partnership, that just that association, when you look at the followers on all of their social media channels, you look at how many eyes they get onto their product in America. The idea that darts or any dart player would become in some way interlinked with that is hugely positive. And can only be, regardless of what anyone's view is on, professional wrestling, WWE, whatever, you cannot dispute that it is good for darts, for any of that association. It can only be. And it was really good. And again, we'll come on to it, but the change in entrance music and just that acceptance from the guys at WWE that there's because let's also be honest as well. They don't do anything like that out of pity. Like, they don't do it unless there's something in it for them. Let's be brutally honest. So, but that I think is a really, really good indicator as to where darts and the perception of darts is globally and outside of our little darts bubble and how people see it. Because clearly there is something within darts that the WWE wanted to attach themselves to, whether that be the story of Luke Littler, whether that be the fact that they do, and we know that WWE see MSG almost as their sort of home stadium, or like that. That's where all of their history is attached to. But the fact that that association has been made and potentially could continue to be, in any way tied together, I think is a positive thing for darts. And anyone that doesn't think that is just being a little bit petulant on their view of wrestling, which is silly.
Yeah, look, 100%. And from being in the venue, I think, did the walk-on work?
From what I saw of it, it looked bloody brilliant. But again, I also look at it from the view of someone that quite enjoys. And I was familiar with that music. I know exactly what it. I knew, like, when I hear that song, I know exactly what it is. So I buy into it maybe more, like, because I'll be, again, being honest and calling it down the line. I got a text message off someone saying, what was that? Like, what was that song? Because I do accept it probably went over a lot of people's heads, but it doesn't really matter, does it?
No, 100%. Look, it was just incredible. Which is what we want. See, that's an intro, and I get that, Darren. Would it work in Blackpool? In time, I think so. Yes, because the more they do it, the more people get used to it. I think it would work, but it may take some time to get it to work in other areas.
It depends. It would work in Blackpool for a different reason. Like, it would work in Blackpool once people associated that as being a song that Luke Littler used, because any song that Luke Littler uses will end up working because of who he is and the way the fans buy into him. It's also quite a good, walk-on entrance song, because that's what it was written to do. It isn't a general pop song that someone's thought that would make a good walk-on. It has been written specifically for someone to enter an arena to. So it would, but I don't think it would work just out of people knowing what the root of that song was and where its origin was. People in this country, I think, would just if he started using it more, they'd just attribute it to him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was was good. Yeah, you have got to time it perfectly. But again, I'm picking holes here, but I don't think they started it in the right place either. Because I think if they'd done it properly, as in the way Cody does it, they could have got 2 woes in. So as they start here, he could have walked straight at the top of the stairs, give it a great big woe to the audience, and then done the second
mid-stage.
But again, first time at doing it, that takes time to tweak and everything like that. But going back to the first point, the fact that they got to WWHQ, WWE embraced it, William Regal was there. Oh, it's a massive, massive thing for darts in North America.
Of course it is. Huge. Just that, again, just the people that were I mean, I know William Regal was there with a couple of others, in fact, wasn't actually there with any WWE talent. William Regal was in the venue, I think, with a couple of AEW guys.
He bought tickets before WWE got involved.
Yeah, I was going to say Wheeler Yuta, I think, was there, and Claudio. I think there was there was certainly a few of them there, but that's brilliant. Like it's what we see over here, or it's what we like to see over here when we see sports people getting involved, and we see third parties, and we see people who can bring eyes on the sport, and that when they tweet about it, other people that might not know about darts will think, what the hell is this? Why are they going for a night there? I better look into it. And that's what you want in America. You want people who, to expose new people to darts. We don't have to worry about people who are already into darts because they're into it. Like, we don't have to bother about going and finding them. They'll find what's on and watch it. But it can only be a positive thing, and long may it continue, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And we've got obviously Ray in the comments had a great time at MSG. Yeah, look, it was great. Before we talk about the individual action, that obviously I know they're always going to hype the stuff when things are good, and rightfully so. We do it, but 7,500 fans over 2 days of action is incredible, and the atmosphere on the Saturday night, I'm throwing it out there, pissed all over Leicester at the World Grand Prix last year for any night.
It looks really good. But was it, as I said, it was difficult to get and it always is, isn't it? Difficult to get a real sense of what the venue is like on the through the TV. But like, was it legitimately like right up there with event, UK and European events final day?
Right up there, if not better. It was bonkers. And
you would hope, wouldn't you, from that there is a clamour. Obviously the tickets have sold. They know they know they've as a test case. And I know that this isn't the first time they've been over there, but they know that they can fill venues of that size comfortably. Obviously, there is more and more eyes coming to the sport. You've got to expect a clamour for bigger and better things, haven't you, over there?
Yeah,
and for that want to come from the United States. The fans who were in the venue at the United States, you would expect to be wanting more. Bring us something bigger. Bring us something better.
Yeah, 100%. And I genuinely think it is heading that way. 100%. Lendl says Grand Prix in NYC. I'm down for that.
Oh yes, that would be highly impressive.
Nice, Patrick. Nice. No, it wasn't. Just I happened to book NYC a long time before MSS decided to do a Women's Week.
Before you became famous.
Yeah. So yeah, it was incredible. And the darts lived up to it as well. Some really good showings over there from both sides as well. Adam Sameda, a guy that we didn't know a lot about, that again, a lot to like around him, as well as the more established names that the CDC in North America are just producing players that can compete at that level more and more.
Yeah, and there were some, even where, So if we look, US Darts Masters, even where the games were not particularly competitive in terms of the leg scoring, the results of those quarterfinal games, we did. Oh, sorry, the first round games, we saw a really high level of darts right across the board. Even where people were beaten, 6-1, and there was a few 6-1s across there. They were probably very generous scorelines because the actual standard of throwing and the standard of darts that we saw was very good right across the board.
Yeah, 100%. Look, Alex Spellman will be kicking himself because he should have beaten Peter Wright.
Yeah.
And then Peter Wright got away with it. But look, that happens in any form. We've seen the very elite miss darts. Matt Campbell played decent-ish, but just ran into an inspired boy wonder, as always.
Yeah, what could he have done there?
That's just one of those things, isn't it? That sometimes you just go, yeah, it happens. But the overall standard and this World Series always feels different to any of the others. This feels like the real World Series event, and I'm not taking anything away from any of the other World Series events on the calendar, but this just feels very different. Look, it's got the most glamorous postcode in the world in Madison Square Garden. It's in one of the greatest cities in the world, so I understand why. But I think if you asked any player, if you could only play in one World Series, you're picking an MSG.
Of course you are, like 100%, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. There's not a question or no. Even a thought about that. That's just the way it is.
And I would suggest that that's exactly the same. It's one thing for players. If you said to a fan, "Look, I'll cover you. I'll buy you a ticket and I'll transport you there. You can go to any one of them where you're going. That's where you go. That's where anyone's picking. Player, fan, media, whoever. That's the one on everyone's list, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Which is just great. The actual darts itself, interesting. Lots of talking points. Maybe more questions now than perhaps answers. Rob Cross upsetting the odds, and that's not taking anything away from Rob because he's been playing very, very well. But I don't think many people would have picked him before a dart was thrown.
Well, I think that's primarily because we've seen him underwhelm a little bit in the Premier League, and we knew that. Let's be honest, the Premier League 8 were on their way there. So, especially having recently seen finals night and Rob Cross wasn't part of it, you have got that recency bias. But it's not very long since we saw him. That unbelievable game against Luke Humphries in the Euro Tour final. That really is only a matter of weeks away since that. His form wasn't really too far away in the Premier League. His average, his mean average across the tournament was really high. So I don't think it's a massive shock, especially because the level at which he's played. And again, I know that averages don't tell the whole story, but he's played all 95, 95, 96, 91. There is 4 averages as he's worked his way through the tournament. So at no point has he sort of gone banana. And by the same token, Luke Littler's lowest average of the tournament was 103.5. In fact, the game he played against Matt Campbell, where he bashed him up 6-0 in 9 minutes, that was statistically Luke Littler's worst game. He's I don't know how he's lost the game against Gerwyn Price, but I just think the stars have aligned for Rob Cross in a way that he's been able to get through the games that he had at the level he was playing. He was able to just outplay. He's hit he caught sort of Adam Cerveda a bit cold, and I just think he's he's been the better player in that game. He's edged out Michael Van Gerwen's underperformed, if we're honest.
Yeah.
Compared to what we've seen of him lately. Luke Humphries really underperformed. I mean, Luke Humphries managed to get 5 legs off him, but averaged 90. It's not very often we see Luke Humphries turn up and average 90.
Well, and he was 5-0 down.
Over the course of 12 games, over the course of 12 legs. We don't see Luke average 90. And again, so he's got away with one there. And then the only game he's won that he probably shouldn't have won was he's managed to get through that deciding leg against Gerwyn Price at the end. That was the final. I felt was a very Rob Cross-like victory. It was a scrappy performance where he wasn't playing quite as well as his opponent, but he managed to find a way to win it. Very impressive win, but I think things just fell quite well for him. Is that he didn't meet any of his opponents really at it over the course of the weekend.
We'll come back to this in a second, but there is a raging argument going on in our chat room, and I will answer it for you. Unfortunately, Matt Campbell will not be at the World Championships or the Grand Slam of Darts because of the PDC ruling. We'll touch on that more in a little while, but just to confirm, Matt Campbell will not be at the World Championships or Grand Slam of Darts through that format. And guys,
when he wins the World Cup, he will be.
Yeah, if he wins the World Cup, absolutely. But he will not for that reason. And as if by a little bit of magic and timing,
black magic. Hey,
he's picked the sofa up.
Hello there.
All right.
Right.
I have a sofa and I have a dartboard, which means this background is going to look very, very different next time we're on. Plus, I have Wi-Fi coming tomorrow, so tonight might be a bit of a shit show on my part, but next week I'll be good, I swear.
Dan, we'll answer the bit about the walk-on in a minute as well. But yeah, it was one of those ones where Rob just did what he had to do, and I don't want this to sound really harsh because it's not meant to be, but he must have loved every minute of it when Gerwyn Price takes out Luke Littler in the semi-final, because Gezi was purring along at that point, absolutely purring.
Yeah, and he's because nobody backs Cross, and Cross probably doesn't back Cross to beat Littler in the final. And again, just like the average that Littler's posted, he had no right to get beat in that game, but Gezi's just managed to get through that. But yeah, you're right. Cross must have been having a little bit of a celebrate to himself, knowing that he wasn't going to run into again, a Luke Littler whose worst performance that weekend was the 103 average in 9 minutes against Matt Campbell. So that was the worst he's played all week. So
that was a bit nuts.
Well, yeah, and so how would you? Yeah, really. I mean, amazing performance, and to think that was his worst performance of the weekend's even madder. To think that he didn't make the final.
Yeah, absolutely bonkers. Pluses for Gerwyn Price. Look, I don't often say this, but I thought the better player did lose the final. I thought Gezi was the better player and a great semi-final performance as well. Signs that maybe the Iceman is just returning to the Iceman that we know he is.
Well, we did see, we saw some solid performance. I mean, the game against Peter Wright, he did just blow Peter away completely. And then he had sort of two topsy-turvy games in that he was the worst player in the semi-final of the two, but he managed to win it. And then in the final, he managed to be the better player and not win it. So he sort of went both ways round it. But generally, surely very positive for him. And he does look like he's put the Premier League woes behind him and is able to just get on with playing darts with that put to bed now. And he's looking all right, isn't he?
Yeah. No, I agree.
He spent the last 2 weeks telling everybody how much he hates it and he wants to focus on ranking events. And then he looked really good in a non-ranked event.
That was the ironic thing, yeah.
But if it's a sign of things to come, then it's sort of a case of welcome back. Where have you been?
Yeah, I agreed.
And it's watchable. Like, both of those games, the game against Littler and the game against Squash, were both very watchable games, enjoyable to watch, both in the venue, I assume, and however else you're watching it.
Yeah, 100%. How are we doing, James? Hope you are good. Yeah, look, it was weird. Obviously, I know you weren't there, God, when we were chatting about it, but a massive weekend for darts in North America with the way the fans received everything, the atmosphere, just brilliant. And I finally think that it is now growing at a rate that we want it to.
Yeah, look, I don't want to use the phrase we've cracked America with darts, but it certainly looks like we've broken the shell on the egg. Like, the crowds were the best they've ever been for an event in North America, or certainly at MSG. It looked fantastic. The standard that they're producing was really, really good. I actually thought that the draw worked out terribly for the North American contingent in the US Darts Masters. I thought they really showed what they can do in the North American Darts Championship. It looks a fantastic spectacle. I think people are finally getting behind it. You saw the media coverage. They're on news channels in the day. We saw Littler with Ariel Helwani again. It's certainly on the increase. And it certainly seems to be right now that America is more receptive to newer things. How the Cricket World Cup has just started in America. That's mad. Half the Americans think that's just weird rounders, if you try and explain that to them. But the fact that USA is hosting a Cricket World Cup now is absolutely massive. So look, they're certainly more receptive to new things, to sports that are popular in Europe and beyond. And darts is leading the way in that.
Yeah, 100%. I know it's good to see. And before we touch on the North American Championship as well, that there's a real argument now. I understand that it's time restraints and making sure it can be done in a timely manner, but surely 16 or at least 12 for the North American Darts Championship has to be the next thing as well, because the 8 that were there were fabulous, but we were also talking about the players that aren't there, showing that there is probably the best field we could ever have, and upping it was only going to help.
Yes and no. The other option is that we have 2 and that we stay with the same format, because that's what every other World Series seems to be, 8 and 8, but we crack Canada next.
No,
because the Canadians have argued
the North American Championship. Not the World Series event, the North American. The World Series event. You've got to keep them all the same. I'm about the North American Championship.
Yeah, I could see it. Even if there was an event somewhere else in New York that hosted preliminaries that we could see on PDC TV throughout the week.
That, I think, is a nice idea to have. I nearly used a phrase from someone. I wouldn't like to steal the idea of a golden ticket qualifier, but something like that, where we know 6 of the players, or whatever that tournament bracket looks like, and then there is something that we can all enjoy, people qualifying for that event. So the more the better. We've talked for weeks about the standard and the depth that tour has got now, and how many people that you could potentially post into a bracket that would be of a standard to make that really entertaining and competitive. There are definitely more names that could be there, without a doubt, without taking anything away from the standard of darts we would see.
Question, and this is something that's come up here as well, that this got me thinking of it. Could we do a European tour style tour of America over a 6-week period?
I mean, it's possible, but
what purpose?
As in, it's part of they're ranked, to continue to promote the growth of the sport? Could we then do ranking events in America?
I don't think it's. I think if the percent, I mean, I don't know what the percentage would be of tour card holders who are based in North America, and I don't even mean North Americans.
I
mean
don't like the
card...
Tour. I'd rather just stay major.
Part of the reason I ask this is because speaking to a lot of the North Americans, they are apprehensive to make the jump because of the costs. Where if we want this sport to be a truly global sport, are we going to have some kind of ranking events all around the world to make it feasible for people to try and crack it from other areas other than the UK and continental Europe?
Only if you use those extra events and the extra revenue generated to pay out more on the tour so that the tour card holders can realistically attend all of those events. Otherwise, you're going to massively.
The problem with
you're going to dilute it
in the
hugely.
US is qualifiers.
But if you need people to obviously, and people are self-funding.
Go on, Dan.
So if you need people to self-fund that, like. And again, let's be honest, there are a section of dart players at the top end of that who aren't going to worry about it. That's going to be fine. But there are people that are going to have to make serious decisions. And you are going to get people who will, of course, say, like, no, not for me, that. Not for me. And then what you're going to do is you're going to end up with people who might potentially lose their tour card because they can't afford to attend tour events. And I think that there's lots about expanding the sport globally, but I think you aren't developing the sport in the way that you should do if people are losing tour cards because they're financially unable to attend the tour events.
No, I agree with that, but it also flips that as well. But we've got people arguably good enough and should potentially be tour card holders, but can't afford to do it because everything is on the other side of the world.
The house prices here are much cheaper. They could come here.
But uprooting family is the issue.
Yeah, it is. But
that's the problem.
It is. But if I wanted to be a baseball player and I wanted to be a professional baseball player and I wanted to earn big money playing baseball, sooner or later, I'd have to make a decision as to whether or not I could do that based in Teesside and flying out to America. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I completely get it, but that's where things are at the moment. And if I wanted to be a baseball player, or if I want, I'd have to make the decision sooner or later, wouldn't I?
I get that with a purely American sport because, let's be fair, baseball isn't big anywhere else.
Japan, massive, but carry on.
But darts is the thing. If we want it to be this truly global sport.
Oh no, I get it. I just think it's my concern. My only concern is, and I am all for growing it, and I am massively on growing it in North. I just think it's an amazing thing. I think the way the CDC is growing at the minute, and the more it happens, the better. But what you can't do is you can't dilute the tour that you've got, and you can't expand into those areas at a cost to the vast majority of the tour that you have. That it's if you decide to run events in Australia, America, Japan, India, where else, or anywhere like that, there you are going to have. Let's be realistic. What do you think? A third of the tour card holders not traveling? Ballpark?
Possibly.
You're massively diluting, and again, if someone then doesn't get their tour card because they couldn't travel, I just don't know. I think it has too much of a negative effect on the existing tour, and you need to find a way to develop and grow it without punishing tour card holders who have already earned the right to be there.
See, I like this. That, again, I'm being completely greedy here, but you could do 3 weeks in America with 3 World Series events over the weekend. So, and then you could also have 6 Players' Championships in between those events as well.
So the big boys playing
sort of
9 events in 3 weeks. Some of those Premier League players won't fancy. Go on, mate.
Well, if you go Euro Tour style, as we suggested earlier, then not everybody qualifies, which means players are massively missing out. Then, say if it was a 6-week block of Euro Tours, which is what the first idea was floated, and you qualify for the 1st and the 6th, are you going to fly in and out? Or are you going to stay in America for 6 weeks? Because that's costly. It's not as if we're hopping over to Kiel or Halle or whatever else, right? I know you said earlier that flights are similar, that you've looked at before, but depending on where you're traveling from or things that we're used to or conversion rate of currency or whatever else, but it's still the journey time. You lose a day and a bit traveling to America. You lose half a day and 2 hours sleep getting to Germany, right? So that's another consideration. A lot of darts players are self-employed on the side or whatever else, or have to work for a living and then take it holiday. They lose an extra 2 days in travel to New York or the East Coast, maybe more for the West Coast, than you would go into a European tour. That's the bonus of it being in Europe. I don't mind the concept of Pro Tours or Players' Championship events, but the prize fund has to come up. It's something that we've been banging on about for a long time. The bottom end prize fund, and that's just
the bottom end. That's the key. The only way you can do it and do it properly and protect the tour that exists. The only way you can do it properly and protect the existing tour is to raise the bottom end tour cap. Even if, and I have no problem with, like, let's be honest, the PDC have, that's unfair. Hang on. All sporting organisations sort of keep it, reserve the right to be inconsistent and make special rules here and there. I've got absolutely no problem at all if they increase the bottom level money just for those 6 events, and just say, in order to help support the growth of the sport in North America, we're going to increase the money. And then what that does is it gives North American players who are playing there chance to earn more money because we've increased the bottom level. We've got more chance of the rest of the tour being able to travel because that bottom level money is higher. But I have no problem with just doing, and we know the money needs to come up at the bottom level right across the board. But I've got no problem with them making a special ruling for 6 events and saying just to help grow the sport. We do all sorts and waste all sorts of money to help grow the sport, don't we? Like, we've just flown people all around the world to grow the sport over there. Like, let's just increase the money for tour card holders and let people not lose their tour cards because they couldn't afford to travel.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, this debate settles on an acronym of 4 letters. ABFS. Anywhere but fucking Saudi.
Don't get me wrong, we're coming on to that in a minute. Don't you worry. That is on the list to talk about. Peter makes a good point there. How are we doing, Peter? I hope you got home to Chicago. All good. You need a minimum of 6 PDC events to make it matter to North American players in terms of ranking money.
Ranking points, mate.
Get some rankers in Barnsley, mate. How we doing, Paul? Hope you are good. Saying, hi guys, is there a possibility to have a double knockout during the awards so they get a second chance? Probably not. What I hope will end up is in the very near future, we'll have a North American double header. So like we do in Australasia, that we'll have 2 World Series events in North America. which would be incredible. But yeah, going back to the original point before we got sidetracked, was the North American Championship. I genuinely think that 12 or 16 would be huge, and I appreciate time is key to this, but the amount of players from North America that missed the North American Championship due to only being 8, it could be so good at 12 or 16, even better than what it is now.
Agreed. Agreed.
Is it time or is it demand?
Time. It's time restraints within the venue.
We've just seen but afternoon session. So if you've got the demand to sell the tickets, because they're in there a day before setting up and whatever else. So I know it's an extra half a day elsewhere that you've got to find for setup, etc. But if the ticket demand keeps going up, then there's enough for a Friday afternoon session, and that's where you get your extra session to put you can go afternoon Saturday, afternoon Friday, first round of the North American, evening US Darts Masters, same again the following day, and build it up that way. You don't double up the day. You don't whack all go in price in one day and run the risk of not seeing it. Split him over 2 sessions and whatever price as an example. But yeah, you split that if we can sell out that Friday afternoon session. Now, I guess part of the issue is you had the Rangers in the middle of a Stanley Cup finals next door.
Literally for Dave, I was like, let's go Rangers. Let's go Rangers. But
it's all about basketball this year anyway. Forget ice hockey. Yeah.
I like that. I like the idea of the afternoon on the Friday as well. I can completely get behind that, which would be good. The only negative from the North American Championship, and this isn't anyone's fault, it's just the way it is because of the rule change, but now the second year in a row, the winner won't receive the prize because of the rule change. Happened to Jeff Smith last year being a tour card holder, and the same for Matt Campbell this year. Now, I'm not an advocate of changing the rule because I actually quite like the fact that PDC have closed backdoor entries to the World Championship. So is it now time that if you are a year 3 tour card holder and above, that you can't play in the North American Championship? Is that potential something that you'd like to see looked at?
Not after the conversation we've just had, because if you remove Matt Campbell and co. and Jeff Smith last year, while we're then looking at increasing the field to 16, do we dilute it a bit?
I don't think so. I still think there's enough there.
No, you look at the names that played cross-border, etc., but there's depth there. But if we suddenly end up with 5 tour card holders from North America next year, say David Cameron gets a tour card and Alex Spellman gets a tour card and Stowe Bunce takes the crack and Matt Campbell's still there and Jeff Smith decides he's going to give it another go and travel over, etc., is there enough to sell tickets for that extra session that we've been talking about on a Friday afternoon left in the tank? I think if you take away that many headliners, I don't think the answer is yes. Not yet. Not while you're still growing.
Okay, then. So is the
one or the other?
Okay, so is the response to that then there isn't a World Championship space on offer? Because whilst I appreciate one of the others could win it, say for instance, a North American tour card holder wins it again next year, and you can't have that space, that prize is never getting given out.
At the moment, but there's also the potential that it could have been given out for 2 years in a row. It could have made somebody's career. We could have seen another Stowe Bunce, and we could see it again all over.
I appreciate that, but do we then go, okay, there isn't a World Championship spot available for that. However, that space is going to go to the cross-border winner or next on the CDC Order of Merit or something like that.
Yeah, but cross-border's got... Does cross-border not have tour card holders in as well?
Yeah, it does. But all World Championship spaces are on Order of Merit.
The fact there's a rule that stipulates where that goes afterwards, I'm not like that's not an issue for me. If it was ambiguous and up in the air, and they leave it until November to tell you who's actually qualified with that spot, fine. But the fact it's written in the rules that if it's not won by somebody under these conditions, then it goes here, I'm absolutely fine with. The fact that it's a carrot for somebody to go and book their spot at Ali Pali that could happen for the next 10 years.
I'm just playing devil's advocate with it all.
Yeah, I don't mind it in a minute. I think it's... Yeah. It's a nice little carrot to dangle in front of those that aren't a tour card holder.
Yeah, no, I'm just playing devil's advocate with it all. And where was the comment? Trevor says, we as fans in North America want the North American tour card. We're just floating ideas, mate. That's all. We're not saying that this has to happen. We're just floating ideas around. Even Josh, hope you are good. Right, we've got a few clips to play off of the back of this. First of all, we'll hear from both winners. We'll go for Matt Campbell first.
Obviously, winning any title is great. So, yeah, just got to hopefully take this win into the rest of the year and keep my tour card for next year. No, honestly, I really don't like the game. I love the competition and the people, right? Like, if somebody's going to push me, I want to push them. So that's the part I love about any sport is the competition.
Hopefully this inspires Matt again, because I feel he's got a bit lost, because we've seen his ceiling is incredible, but it's been a tough start in 2024 for him, and hopefully this reinvigorates him to go on and keep his card.
It doesn't feel like that from the way that his demeanour or the way that he spoke a little. Definitely, it wasn't the most joyous of interviews for a man that's just won a televised tournament in one of the most iconic venues in the world. But like I said, look, if that hits him in a few days' time and he goes, right, this is the chance, the fact he's done that with equipment that wasn't necessarily what he threw with the day before, that might just be the kick up and go, do you know what? Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he's got a decent relationship with Jeff Smith, who is now playing the CDC stuff, is comfortable at home, has had his crack in the UK, and it hasn't quite gone to the upper echelons as perhaps he would have liked or hoped. And maybe he's taking a look at the CDC, seen he's competitive and winning things that would have earned him a spot at the World Championships if he didn't have a tour card. And maybe he's not that bothered about the tour card anymore. Maybe as long as there is the risk that you don't earn anything throughout the year, we keep saying how expensive this country is to live in at the moment, and the fact there is no minimum earnings, there's no base limit, none of that. Like, you can rock up and earn $3,000 for the year. That's a big risk for somebody who is possibly homesick, who lives 2,000 miles away or whatever that journey is.
He is looking like, realistically, he's looking pretty likely to keep his card, though, isn't he? Like
he needs to get to the Worlds.
He's the tour card race at the minute is 54, so he's 10 people up, but 20 grand. He's got a 20 grand cushion, which is not bad.
It's not, but increased prize money this year everywhere else, that can soon get eaten away.
Well,
you think with Euro Tours, TV titles, the Worlds, that can soon get eaten away, where you look how much it's gone up. I think 43 grand got you into the match play last year. It's looking like 53 this year.
Yeah, there's not a lot though. You know, when you look at, yes, obviously there's potential there, but you know, you look at those around him, and again, you know, for him, you need 10 people to do worse than the 9 people underneath him in the rankings. You know, nobody under there is qualifying for anything. Like, realistically, you know, you look at, and even when you look at who's there already, you know, there's no, in the 10 people, the next 10 people out, nobody's even qualified for a Euro Tour. No, like, there's nobody in there that's in any form whatsoever, and he needs 9 people. You know, he needs 9 people under him to do worse than the next 10 down. I think he's got enough of a cushion. I think he won't be one of the ones towards the back end of the year that's scratching and clawing. But you never know. I mean, if he doesn't win a game between now and Christmas, then he's going to be struggling.
Let's hear from Rob.
I had a massive following out there, and without them, I don't believe I'll win the game. To be honest, if you probably leave Gezi alone, he probably wins. So look, it spins on roundabouts. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. And don't get me wrong, Gezi's probably my best mate on tour. I love him to bits, and look, if you're winning it doesn't matter. I'm sure he's had a lot more money off me in the past.
I like that from Roberto.
He seems comfortable, doesn't he?
Yeah, I've never seen him this composed and just at ease with himself.
Don't get me wrong, there's still ups and downs on the board, but he looks really great. Didn't quite deliver to the level that I in particular expected of him in the Premier League. I thought he was heading in there in really great shape, and the consistency of the tournament would have suited him, but it looks great. He's a threat for majors for the back end for me.
He does seem quietly pleased with himself, doesn't he? And comfortable. And like I said, the levels that we've seen from him in recent weeks and what we've seen in the Euro Tour, and it's easy to. It's because the Premier League is so relentless, and it's every week constant, that when a player doesn't make finals night, it's easy to sort of almost think that they're a bit written off for the season, because you've just seen them relentlessly not winning games or winning enough games, like as you perceive it. But in reality, in the grand scheme of things, he's one of the very top players in some of the very best form. And he could potentially have a massive second half of the year.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna play a clip from Jeff Smith, and this was an interesting one because, again, we'll discuss after.
I know Mike come to me at the end of it, and he said he was a bit upset. He thought I spoke, but that's not me. I don't do that stuff, and it is what it is. But I'm so happy to play in New York, and I've got a great fan base, and I'm just going to continue what I do. The World Championships care for anybody. If you can get through, it's great. But at the same time, I'm just going to approach it one game at a time.
We know, obviously, you made the decision not to go and try and get your tour card back. Are you completely comfortable now in the situation, playing in North America again instead of the commute to Europe and that all the time?
Yeah, I've said it all along. I had a great year last year. I won here last year, and I lost on a rule change, and probably would have kept my tour card. But at the same time, you know what I mean? I'm willing to sit here back. I'll represent the CDC, and I'll play the tournaments when I can. And yeah, I'm not. There's no ill effects from what I'm doing. I'm just here to win a game of darts.
Of all people that wouldn't talk, is Jeff Smith in there?
Oh yeah, I'm like it's not really an issue, and I think it's a bit. I appreciate he's took a bit of a whooping on that stage, where he would have been heavily fancied to win, and he's been shown up by one of the locals, and he's been beat 6-1, and he's maybe said something without really having a proper think about the full situation and scenario. But I would be fairly confident if I hadn't seen any footage at all. If someone said to me, "This is an accusation," I'd say, "No, someone's made a mistake there." Like without having even, I don't need to look at it, and it's fine. I can reassure you that's not how it happened. Like there's been a mistake somewhere.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, of all people that wouldn't do it, it's Jeff Smith. Right, we got a couple. I haven't uploaded. Right, first of all, I'm going to play this one from Nathan.
I'm just not happy with my game, and I've been tired. The last 6 months, 12 months, I've had a lot of stuff going on at home, moving house, etc. Trying to get my kids in new schools. It's been hard. It's been a tough 12 months for me, but everything's right now. The Premier League's done. I'm looking forward to getting myself back up there where I belong. My Pro Tour ranking is absolutely abysmal. So I've just said to her, I need to work hard. I've got to start working hard. There's so many players coming through now. One that springs to mind, Richie Headhouse.
Yeah, 100%.
They're so hungry to get what we've got, and yeah, okay, I'm in a great position world ranking wise, but you know, only lasts for 2 years, and you know, as quickly as you get to the top, you can fall down. And I think Smithy's seen that. You know, Smithy's in a bit of trouble. As much as my mate, you know, it won't happen, but you know, he can fall outside the top 16. Peter Wright's the same. You know, Van Gogh is now not a seed on the Euro Tour. All these things happen because we get complacent, and I've been complacent the last 12 months, thinking me ability alone will keep me up there. And you know, reality check, you're not that good, Nath. Do you know what I mean? You have to work hard, and I think I've learned now that if I don't pull my finger out, I won't be in New York next year. I won't be in the Premier League next year, and I love all this stuff. So, yeah, big reality check, and I'm going to work hard and get back to where I belong, because you know, I'm sick of seeing all my fans disappointed that I played poor or I've lost, and that's not me. I'm a winner, not a loser. So hopefully, you know, this little chunk, these next 3 or 4 weeks, can get me getting back up there. I'm actually going to the Pro Tours in Germany, which I never thought would happen in my life, I know. I'm actually going to go there to try and get a bit more game experience, like practice, and yeah, hopefully, you know, get myself ready for the match play. Hopefully have a fantastic run again there, hopefully defend my title.
It's quite refreshing to hear someone come out and say, I've been complacent.
Yeah.
Well, he knows where he's at, doesn't he? Like, he knows he is slipping down the rankings. He's 46th on the Pro Tour. He's a mile away. That's why he's going to Germany, because he needs to win games of darts on the Pro Tour. But I think it's very refreshing for him to fully acknowledge it. You know, he knows that, like, and clearly that, you know, there are players making inroads on those elite spots, and we might see a format change. You know, and he's saying, you know, I might not be here next year. I might not get these spots. Somebody else might claim that spot. Someone else might claim that Premier League spot. And where his game is at the where we've seen amazing stuff from him. You know, we know he's capable of it, but he's not finding it consistently at the minute enough to justify a place in some of those big events, or certainly not if he can't carry this into next year.
It feels like the second time that Nathan's had this conversation with himself. It feels like we've seen him peak, we've seen him go up, we've seen him play Premier League, he's had a bit of a dip, now he's back there again, and he's already telling himself off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Adam just mentioned there, provisional 6th in the world. Like, he's provisional 6th in the world, but the sort of the issue with him being provisional 6th in the world is Chisnell's provisional 7th, £500 behind him. Then Johnny Clayton, who we've seen great stuff from in recent weeks, only £9,000 behind him. Like that, those spots there, and you know, Luke Littler is in that mix as well in the top 10. Like provisional 6th is like, that's no banker when the bloke in 7th is £500 behind you. And then the rest of those spots are tight. Like if Nathan doesn't start to pick up money, there is a really good chance that he drops out of the provisional top 10. Really good chance. If he doesn't have a run, if he, and I'm not suggesting that he does, because I would pick him to go well in it. If he bombs out of the match play, then there's a decent chance that people make inroads on him, and that top 10 ranking could really come under threat.
Yeah, we've got a second clip to play from Nathan as well, and this is an interesting one, and he said it, and he's like the first to say it. So we'll discuss in a minute.
Luke is amazing. I keep saying in my interviews, he's the best player on the planet. He's honest to God, like you have no idea what a nice guy he is off the hockey, and we're good friends. And yeah, I think what he's done for the sport, as well as obviously the other Luke, he's been amazing in the last 4 months. He's kind of given myself, Michael Smith, Van Gogh, Gezi the kick at the backside that I think we've all needed. Them two are dominating, if I'm deadly honest with you, and we don't like it. You know what I mean? We've got to be part of that conversation. So, yeah, they're making us play better, they're making us work hard, they're making us practice, and yeah, long may it continue. You know, as long as they're playing well, we're going to keep trying as hard as we can to beat them.
The line, we don't like it. I was always wondering who the first to say it was going to be. Because it was always going to come out at some point.
Yeah, I don't think it's a personal thing, though, is it?
I no,
I think
I'm not saying it's personal, but I'm just saying it's not all. Oh, this is great, isn't it? It's like no,
they just don't like getting dicked all the time, do they? Like, but again, like I think in the you put those two interviews together and you get someone who seems to be acknowledging that he hasn't put the effort in and the time in, both on the practice board and playing in that pro tour environment. And yes, he's turned up at the majors and in big exhibitions when he's been invited, but you can point and say, I don't like this, but if you know that you have not been doing what you needed to do to get to your level, you haven't got much to moan about, have you?
Yeah.
You need to put the hard yards in, don't you?
Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting, but a really, really good listen from Nathan. Right, I'm going to play an MVG clip, and then we've got a Peter Wright one as well.
We looked at last week.
Oh yeah, there was
tournament there were just over 100, I think.
Yeah, there was some really good.
So I think if you look at that perspective, only sometimes just a little bit more, but that takes a bit of time, and that I think towards the end of the year I should be reaching my peak point again, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Obviously, Luke's come in and done what he's done in a short. Luke Littler's come in and done in a short space of time. Has he?
I thought he was talking about Humphrey. He did a short.
Yeah, but both of them. To be fair, you can put them. Have they fired you up again and almost refocused you?
You have to, otherwise I'm not going to put myself to the budget. Do you know what I mean? I need to make sure I get my chin up and fight, and that's what you have to do. If you want to compete with the best players in the world, you have to put time in yourself. You have to keep fighting. You have to keep trying to make yourself a better player. And if you don't want to do that, it's time to retire.
The O2, did that hurt relinquishing your Premier League crown?
Because I was feeling quite good, to be fair, and my fighting power was there. But when you're not performing well enough, then you don't deserve the title, and that's the way how it is.
So how do you bounce back? Obviously, you've got some World Series events to get ready for, and then is it all eyes on the match play?
Yeah, 100%. And after match play, straight away, I can't wait. I have my
second operation on your
operation done, and from then on afterwards, it's probably, of course, match play really important, and afterwards, I'm going to look forward to September.
Do we think the penny has dropped?
I think the penny dropped some time ago. I just think he's now willing to say it out loud. That's my view.
What, me ages ago, didn't it? Because let's be honest, I was the first one saying it. And not that I'm going to revel in his misery.
I think what's interesting though, what I will say is, because he didn't say it out loud when we all suspect, we thought he knows what's going on here. But I think the fact that he's willing to say it out loud and say it in the way that he did, that was a really honest, they are not the words that we see from Michael van Gerwen, in years gone by. That's not the way he talks about himself or his game or his approach to winning and everything to do with that. But I think it's a really positive thing for him. I think it's the fact that he's comfortable enough to be able to say it out loud and to be able to have that interview go and people to understand that that's his thought process, that's where he's at. He's clearly trying a different approach in terms of his, how he manages his relationship with the rest of the players and tour and that supreme dominance we know isn't there. He's having to have a bit of almost like a rebrand in himself, isn't it? He's been forced into a bit of a rebrand where he can't wander around as the untouchable, unbeatable one anymore, because at the moment he isn't, and other people are able to lay far greater claim to those accolades. But I think it's a really positive thing. I think it shows he's in a good place. I think he's still embracing the changes to his action and his darts and everything else. But the more interviews we hear like that, the more I'm convinced at some point we'll see a run in a major tournament where we see, vintage levels and where we will see Michael van Gerwen going toe to toe, matching the Lukes at their A game. which is what we all want. It's like if you don't want that, you don't like darts, and you should probably find something else to watch.
It's going to be quite interesting seeing the change in approach as well. We saw the likes of Johnny Clayton and Glenn Dorrance really revel in the role of being the hunter and not the hunted. We haven't seen Michael Van Gerwen as the hunter for the best part of a decade, maybe more.
100%.
And the fact that he's going to be able to go to tournaments under the radar, not really talked about because all the attention is on the two Lukes and Gerwin Price's form right now. And is Peter Wright doing this? And hey, let's chuck Gary Anderson, one of the best players in the world, but not being mentioned because we're in silly season where you don't see any ranking events. Let's not forget Gary, right? The fact Michael's just going to be another cog in that mix instead of Michael Van Gerwen at the top, everybody else underneath, and the pressure on Michael to deliver. It's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, and where Nathan admitted he's been complacent, let's be fair, Michael's been complacent. I'm not sure how much work he's done away from the board, if I'm being honest. But I think, obviously, the fact we've seen Vincent with him at recent Premier Leagues and XY, that I'm actually encouraged that he is going to put the time back in again.
I just think he knows he has to. He hasn't got a choice. Well, it's that or he packs in, isn't it? Because Michael Van Gerwen is never going to be a player who is happy being beat more than he wins and pottering around in the mid-40s, making sure he clings onto his tour card year after year. Like, Michael Van Gerwen will play darts until he can't be a very, very elite dart player, and then he'll stop. Is my opinion. Like, because why in God's name would he, cling on any longer than he needs to? Like, he doesn't need the money, and he doesn't need to tarnish his reputation by, trying to turn up to Pro Tour events and pick up a board final to hold his tour card. But he knows where he's at by the sounds of it, and if we see him, if he has the desire to do it, then I am fully confident that we will see a resurgence where we'll at least see one more big run. And it might but this is the thing, is that one big run might not be good enough in this day and age. Like, he might be able to come and turn it on and back-to-back averages of 103, 104, and might not win. Because he still gets beat by one of the Lukes, like, playing like that. So he could do it and still not get over the line. But I do think that as long as that's his mindset, we'll see one more big run from him, if he wants it.
Yeah, Josh, I wouldn't say early retirement, but I think he will go out as fielded on his terms at the top. He knows when he'll go, right, I'm now done. In terms of you saying the equipment change, I like the equipment change that he's gone back up in weight, because Old Faithfuls, as they were back in the day, were 23 grams. As in old Faithfuls were 23s. I thought the drop to 21.5 was a big drop anyway. So I'm quite happy that he's gone back up in weight with the equipment.
Maybe, but as I've said to you before, the overworking the wrist with an increase in weight won't end well. There's 2 points here for me, and I've got to think of both of them now that we've gone off on a different tangent. The first one is the likes of Glenn Dorrant's career and Adrian Lewis's career, and even Phil Taylor's towards the end, a warning sign to what Michael's currently doing in complacency, and now I've got to put the work in. Aspinall saying the same. At some point, flicking that switch isn't going to be there. And secondly, is the fact that Michael's almost ready to go and Gezzy's talking about XYZ, a little bit of a warning to the PDC that you've got to look after these guys.
100% it's a warning, because, look, I don't think in 10, I'll say 10 years, don't make it easy. In 10 years' time, I don't think Michael Van Gerwen or Gerwin Price will be throwing darts at a professional level.
Agreed.
No, he said he wasn't going to play at 30, so the fact he's still about it.
And that's not because of ability. That's just because of I'm now done. I've made my money. My family's set for life. There's other things.
100%. But it's not just the other warning to the PDC. It's not just looking after them. What was that, mate?
Could we see Van Gerwen as a pundit?
It's something I'd like to see if it worked, because I remember he did commentary on Vincent's game 2019 at a European Championships. He lost early, but he stayed and did commentary the next day on Vincent's game. And without being too harsh, he was better than the proper pundit that he was with in the commentary box.
It's what I think the challenge again.
He gets complimented on the way that he's gracious at the end. Sorry, Dan, I've done it again.
Don't worry. I think it's your lag on your Wi-Fi. I think some of it is there.
I think so.
It's what the appetite is. Like, why would he be doing it? Like, why? Yes, would we enjoy seeing him as a pundit? Yeah, of course we would. He's got an insight into the game that's pretty unique. It would be great to see him. Why would he do it? Because, yes, I appreciate there are pundits that command a high salary. There are some that command a really high salary. But he would have to spend an awful lot of time away from home again. When he's finished playing darts and he can go and live with his family, I'm going to make the wild assumption that he's financially comfortable, or at least as investments that allow him to be financially comfortable going forward, where he wouldn't have to commit to what would be involved. Now, can I see him being brought out, once a year at Ali Pali for Sky Sports to do some, yes, that would be great. But I couldn't see a scenario where he ended up on a contract, just because I just think there can't be. Well, he must be surely in career earnings only behind Phil Taylor. There's no one else that's earned his money, and he's done it in an era when the prize money and sponsorship money is far higher than it ever was for Phil Taylor. I'm surely the guy doesn't need to work a day ever again if he doesn't want to.
No, I don't know his finance, but I would guess by spending a lot of time with him, he has invested money very wisely. I would think.
But so then the punditry question, I say, well, why? Why would he want to commit to all that time away from him? Why would he want to be away from him every Thursday night to talk about the Premier League?
Because
I don't think he will. That's what I'm saying. I could see him in. Have you seen the Stephen Hendry role in snooker, where it's just something to keep him going? Loves the game, knows the game inside out. Could roll out for the high-profile events. I do not envisage seeing Michael Van Gerwen in a commentary sat next to Colin Lloyd in 5 years' time, commentating him anymore. But two, because it's just not going to happen, right? He doesn't need that stress or time away. But you could roll him out for the Premier League. To be fair, it doesn't have to be on British. We're assuming that he's going to be on Sky here, right? Viaplay, DAZN, whoever in the Netherlands.
Can they afford him?
The broadcast, they do it from a studio. He could be in and out from home in an hour. I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends what he wants from it, doesn't it? Like you said, he's never going to be a career move to keep him secure. Like we're assuming here, he's pretty much set for life. It's, when a footballer finishes their career at 35 and then has absolutely nothing to do, and you see a lot of them go and bust or whatever else because they're bored, they gamble, they go and play poker, or a lot of them turn to golf or something similar. It would just be something to keep Michael's brain ticking over, because when you've been at the top level for as long as Michael has been, look, he'll still roll out for an odd exhibition. He's still going to be way worth that, isn't he? But it's just something to keep him going, because somebody that's been at the top level, as a born competitor like he is, a winner, he's going to need something. Especially if he retires young. If you retire at the age of 55 or whatever, you are worn out completely. If he goes at the age of 35, 40, he's not going to sit around at home for 30 years. It would drive somebody insane.
The other bit as well, he still loves to be centre of attention. He still likes people talking about him. And even if that isn't in a playing capacity, as a pundit, that will still get the adrenaline going for Michael Van Gerwen. I think. Well, I'd like to see it. I really would.
And there's a couple of ways of phrasing this. Punditry isn't for everybody, despite what Sky Sports think with some of the people that they roll out for Soccer Saturday these days, and God knows else what, or talk shite for that matter. But he clearly speaks very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not all darts players, in fact, the majority of darts players clearly aren't at a level where a career in punditry and commentary is for them. Because let's be honest, they struggle to form coherent sentences.
Yeah.
Dave Chisnell is not about to be commentating on the match in 5 years' time, is he? Let's be honest. I love Chizzy. I think he's absolutely brilliant. But is a career in broadcasting for Dave Chisnell? Absolutely not. He's just not built for it. Van Gerwen quite possibly is built for it.
Like the other one as well, I'd love to see Vincent be let loose on English TV.
I think that I am going to back all of them to continue working, because what I've realised is I am really uncomfortable talking about the potential retirement of people who are several years younger than me. it makes me really uneasy to think. I was just thinking then, hang on, no, we can't be talking about people's retirement. They're younger than I am. I thought I was all right with our pensions, but I'm still not able to look at that yet. Bloody hell.
Josh, I agree. Not all pundits are centre of attention, but it would be enough to keep people talking about him. It's probably a better way that if he's on a stage on a Thursday night or at the match play final giving his opinion or something like that, it would still be there or thereabouts, because there are some pundits in the game that don't call it how it is, will try and be nice, where if someone was having a stinker and was 7-1 down, he's going to go up there and say, they're not good enough. They're playing shit. He won't, but do you know what I mean? He's going to call it how it is. He's not going to sugarcoat it.
And he's also going to give a different insight, right? Because there's a balance now of former players that perhaps haven't been in the game recently enough to understand a lot of the hardships of where the modern game is compared to the late 90s, the early 2000s. I'm not expecting Michael to be an absolute swat Dan Dawson. He is not going to know every single Euro Tour from every single player from every single season over the years that he works in the broadcast. But what he is going to tell you is the difference between whatever somebody's doing right now and the difference to be at the top level. And because he's a multiple world champion and one of the most successful darts players of all time, it's going to carry some weight. It's going to carry an awful lot of weight. Like I said earlier, it's due for the reference. If Stephen Hendry talks, the 7-time world champion, you listen. If John Parrott talks, you're less likely to listen because the man won one world championship, 85, I think it was. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, no, I don't.
And he's an Everton fan. So.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Right, I'm going to play this clip and then we'll dissect. We could be here a while.
Is it a relief that that's now done?
Yeah, it was total relief. Obviously, I went to the European straight after. I thought I played well against Cammy, and which I went far away, and it was the first time I used the flight setup all in one on original Diamond Darts, and I was quite pleased with them because it was hot on the stage as well. Yeah. So, and I thought, well, all I've got to do is keep practicing with them and I'll be fine. You know, what the kids doing for the sport, we as a dart player, we all appreciate, and you either get on the train or get off. So it's going to be good.
That's a great way of looking at it, because some players don't see it like that. Michael Smith's another one that gets it. And is that just embracing what Luke's doing for the sport? Yeah, definitely. You'd be a fool not to. And if they decide to change, the World Championship to Ali Pali, to Saudi Arabia, whatever, bring it on, because it's all about
looking after the players, and the fans will, wherever darts is, they come and watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
We've seen that from ticket sales all over the world.
Yeah, exactly. So even if we moved around to all different countries, it'd be great for the sport.
It's interesting that you touch on that. Obviously, Gezi's been quite vocal about it as well. But darts always evolves. We saw people leave Lakeside to go to the Circus Tavern to Ali Pali.
Yeah.
So in the end, will darts outgrow Alexandra Palace, do you feel then?
I believe so. Hopefully, it changes before I retire. That'd be nice to go to a new place and win it. And but yeah, I think it's it's great for darts. It's yes, you miss that thing as a kid growing up watching. Oh, I want to be at the Lakeside, or I want to be at the Ali Pali, just to experience it. Yeah. But darts has got to move on. Everything's got to move on. So you either go with it or you go retire, so
keep them around the world.
Go with it.
Like, I tell you what, it takes some decoding that.
Me first. First of all, fuck off with it. There is absolutely no way you agree that the fans would follow it to Saudi Arabia. That's my first point, because that was, if you do, get out. Second of all, there are 2 players currently who have spoken out about the potential of darts now moving to Saudi Arabia, given that 2 that I've seen. Who's the third?
Van Gerwen.
Who's the third? Right, exactly. So this is my point, right? The 3 players that have currently spoken out about it have won world championships in the last 10 years and are currently all ranked within the top 5, or have been for the last 18 months. They are 100% looking out for number 1, and any of them that chuck you the line that it's good for the sport, it's good for the game, are chatting absolute bollocks. They want one more mega payday from the kingdom because they've seen it in boxing. Fucking 9-ball world championships are starting in Saudi Arabia literally today, right? Do you know they've given, out of 128 players, there's 14 Saudi Arabians playing because they've bought their way in? That is what darts will happen, right? Oh yeah, it's brilliant for the players. No, it's fucking not. Their alcohol laws are dodgy to go with what goes on with the sport, whether we want to talk about it or not, and are allowed to talk about it or not, right? Carry on, even if they change it. It is not good for the sport whatsoever. We saw the state of the crowds for the snooker event, the state of the crowds for boxing. 5v5 at the weekend was one of the best cards put on in an absolute long time within the sport of boxing. And it was like it was a fucking funeral. So don't give me that. What those 3 players in particular want is one last mega payout of $500,000, and then they can clear up. They ain't interested in the sport, and if they try and tell you that, they're lying through their teeth.
Oh, look, I'm not arguing that it's financial reasons. I'm not. It is.
Well, you didn't with Peter either, did you? Well, yeah. You told him it would be great.
But go on, Dan.
I don't understand. Like, I'm yet to hear a coherent argument why it would be a good thing. Like, I've not heard, like, it, but because even someone says money, but then my next question is, what does that look like? It's really easy with, like, boxing. Now, by the way, the boxing, the atmosphere, like, if you have any, we cannot talk about how good that was for the sport at the weekend, the atmosphere in Madison Square Garden, and then in the same sense have a realistic grown-up conversation about putting darts into Saudi Arabia. And if we think that atmosphere brings anything to darts as a positive, you will get no atmosphere whatsoever, absolutely none. You will get less atmosphere than you do at boxing, far less atmosphere than you do at boxing in darts. Now, there's some people that want that because they want darts to be played silently. That fine, but in boxing, they can just write a check to a boxer and say, like, this is how much money you get paid for that fight. Like, we don't do that in boxing. You play for prizes. So what do you then do? You just have an enormous prize fund. Someone you just play for £1 million, right? But again, how the hell does that benefit darts? A small number of people, a very small number of people, have a chance to win £1 million. Great. The atmosphere is going to be garbage. 1 or 2 players will get a large amount of money. That's it. I have not heard any other viable, even remotely reasonable option why it should even ever be a thing. Also, what do you do with your women's tour? Will you move an event to Saudi Arabia and Boa Fallon qualify? Sorry, you can't go now. We've now subscribed to a way in which we've now sold our souls and you can't play anymore. I know you've qualified, but because we've moved our world championships here, you can no longer play. It's madness. It's insanity. And stick an event on, sell it once a year, do it and do it go for a weekend and have loads of photos taken and have dinner with all of the folks that you need to have dinner with. But don't for a moment tell me that moving any existing tournament from the calendar to Saudi Arabia is best for darts, best for sport, best for the players, best for fans. It is none of the above. And I'll piss my sides laughing at anyone trying to come and make that point.
Just one.
Is the event that drags people in, isn't it? It's the big Christmas seller. Look how brilliant this is. That's how you get eyes on the rest of the sport, right? That's how you get people watching the match play. That's how you bring fans in to watch the Grand Slam. That's how people are interested in a double start in the middle of, well, not even in the middle of Dublin, 30 miles outside of Dublin, right? If you're then watching that and the atmosphere's dead, who the fuck is going to the Premier League in the UK? If that's what they think it is, you cannot sell your sport as the best party atmosphere for fans in the stands. Look how brilliant this is. They're singing songs. They're necking pints at Christmas. They're doing this. There's fancy dress. If you rock up to Saudi and there's 3 people in a camel.
Oh, yeah, look, I'm
drinking a nice little glass of Ribena. Maybe, yeah, that'll get Luke Litter his J2O sponsorship. We'll move it to Saudi.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bowen Fallon could play. They'd still have to wear long sleeves, wouldn't they?
No, right. But again, right? Why is that? Why would anyone for a fucking moment consider that that's acceptable? And I get it's trivial. I get it's really trivial. But if someone was to say, right, Michael Van Gerwen can play, but he's not allowed to wear green. Everyone else can wear whatever the fuck they want. Peter Wright can wear green, and Michael Smith can wear green, and Gerwyn Price can wear green, but Michael Van Gerwen can't wear green because bald people can't wear green. That's our rule. You'd say that's fucking ridiculous. Pack it. So the idea that you're then going to make players wear clothing that they wouldn't normally wear to play in order to play there. Oh, Josh, I get their house, their rules. I completely get their house, their rules. But I don't want to fucking go. I get their house, they can do what the fuck they want. It's their country. Let's be honest. I'm sure that they have a democratic system to make sure that no one there gets discriminated against and everyone's equal and everything's fair. I'm sure they will have, right? Probably. But their house, their rules does not mean that a sporting organisation like the PDC, who has a duty to protect its members of staff, its players, should then put their players in any position at all where they will be subjected to what we would consider discrimination. That's my point. They can have any fucking rules they want. But as soon as we start saying to players that play on a pro tour, you go there and you will be discriminated against. You go there by all means, Fallon and Bo, you go there. You cannot wear what you want. Fuck off. Like, you're not put. You can't. I mean, but and pay them like if you wish to, and have everybody compromise. Fine. Like, I'll still think it's bollocks.
This argument isn't going to go away, though, is it? So, what event do you see going to Saudi first? Because let's be fair, something is going to go there.
Oh, what event would go to Saudi first?
Is it a World Series, or do they have something bigger straight away?
Yeah, it can only be a World Series.
Let's be honest, it's whatever they pay for, isn't it? It's the
Look,
sad state of the world.
we live in,
I've literally told you about the 9 World
not
Championship.
just darts,
today.
full stop.
The venue looks fantastic on social media. For coverage of 9-ball pool and what Matchroom have done to it, brilliant. I was literally going for a box earlier and there was a leaflet from I went to the World Pool Masters at the Portland Centre in Nottingham. It's a fucking leisure centre. In fact, it makes Barnsley Leisure Centre look unbelievable. Makes it look like you're going to Disney World, right? But it's still a joke, right? What they've done for the pool is brilliant. But the fact that they're not just going to buy the tournament, right? They're going to want backdoor entries for Saudi involvement. And that completely devalues the entire thing for me.
What do you mean? All those Saudi darts players won't will be competing.
Which means it has to be a World Series, by the way.
I'd happily sell them. I'll tell you what I'd give. Well, I'll tell you what I'd be happy to take place there, right? I'd be happy for them to take
13 Saudi pool players playing in this World Championship.
I'd be happy for them to take Premier League finals night because it's a fucking exhibition, right? So they can have that exhibition, they can have the final of that exhibition, and instead of selling out the O2, and the PDC getting the ticket money for the O2 arena, they can get a great big massive check for finals night of the Premier League. Because it's a London event anyway. Like London gets plenty of darts, and that part of the world gets plenty of darts. It's not a loss for the fans. That's what I would happily. That's where I'd. And also because it's not a ranking event, there's no risk of people having to go there. Like this is the thing. This is the other thing, and it's a long, boring conversation that we probably shouldn't have here. But there are people that genuinely are not comfortable with the various different rules and system of government in Saudi Arabia, whether that be migrant workers, whether that be LGBTQ rights, whether that be travel bans and bans on protest or whatever it is. There are people who aren't comfortable with it. As soon as you have a ranked event there, you're then saying to people, like, in order to be a professional and keep your tour card, you have to compromise on everything that you think and believe in and go there and play. You give them Premier League finals night, and then it's just down to people whether or not they want to play in the Premier League, knowing that finals night's there. And if they're comfortable with that, and I'm not suggesting that they shouldn't be, but if they are comfortable with that, and some aren't, you can say, yeah, I'll take the money and I'll do finals night there. And then you aren't, because again, I think you cross a line when you say to people, it is a ranked event and you might need to go there to keep your tour card. Because then there are people who have strong views on the various different things there are to have views on. And they could have to go there and compromise those views to keep their tour card. And I don't think you should put people in that situation.
No, I don't disagree.
Premier League finals night would be perfect. Look at this. Look how brilliant these 16 weeks have been. And then you get to finals night and it's like waking up with a 2 out of 10 after a one night stand.
You can have the road. You can call it the road.
You put all the effort in. You've had a great night. You've bought a kebab. You've gone back to her place, and then the beer goggles wear off at 10 o'clock in the morning. You're like, "What the fuck was I doing?"
You can call it the road to Riyadh. You can have Premier League finals night. I'd happily sell them that because again, if you're happy up front to say yes, I'll be in the Premier League. I know that's where it is. Like I know that I might have to wear a fucking long sleeve shirt so I don't offend the morality police by showing me wrists off. Everyone will get perverted. Fucking hell. That's a conversation. Like, can you imagine a grown-up who's going to have to sit down? One day in darts, someone sits down with Bo Greaves and Fallon Sherrick and says, look, I'm really sorry, ladies, but you're going to have to cover up your forearms because these lads can't control themselves. Fucking hell.
Oh, yeah. Look, the fact that
I've had a great
Barry is openly speaking about it. Let's be fair, we are going to get something in Saudi. It's just a matter of what and when.
Can we take a moment to understand why Barry's openly speaking about it, by the way?
Yeah, because it's more money in the pocket.
His retirement fund, look how old he is. He ain't going to be around forever. And Eddie just wasted a fortune losing 5-0 to fucking Frank.
10-0, technically. Yeah, technically 10-0.
Yeah, look, it's going to happen. It's just a case of what, and I hope it's just a World Series event. For me,
yes,
they will want.
Moving on nicely. Can we talk about women's?
They'll what? They'll.
In a minute. We will in a minute. I'm going to play one clip, Gob, because you'll like this. We'll talk about this, then we'll do Women's Week at the Super Series.
I can't. I'm just
get annoyed with some of the headlines that aren't around darts and the stupid headlines about you. Do they irritate you?
Yeah, it's just my mum sent me something from the Sun. There's like pictures of my brother with his missus and the kid. Like got his birth date wrong, got his actual birthday wrong, and it's all rubbish.
Yeah, like the dart stuff I'm guessing is fine, but it's when the other stuff that hang on a minute, I'm a dart player, you know.
Yeah.
Is that how you feel at times?
Yeah, especially when you bring like my brother into it with his kid and my sister who's just at home doing her thing, and you just don't need to get involved, but that's what they do.
Obviously it's probably going to get worse the better you get, but how do you deal with that? Because obviously you've got a real tight-knit team around yourself. Is it good to have that support and always close to you?
I just like the papers, I just read it and I just laugh at it. It's a load of rubbish, and then obviously I've got the darts to play, and that's what I'm here to do, play darts.
When darts hits the front pages, but it's quite refreshing to hear Luke talk about it like that.
Yeah, he's been taught right. They chat shit.
Yeah, he's got good people around him, and I think they keep him on track. He understands what's going on. I think it must be. I can't talk from experience. It must be marginally easy to deal with when you know it's bollocks. Like, it's one thing papers running stories on you if you've done something that you shouldn't have done, and they're running stories. That's one thing, because shit, this is going to unravel really quickly. If it's bollocks, that must be, and I know it's hard for anyone to deal with, but it must be easier to deal with knowing that it's bollocks.
Yeah, 100%. Job, I'm going to leave this one open to you because I only caught bits and bobs because of the time difference. But Women's Week at the Super Series, by all accounts, the bits I've seen was a huge success.
Yeah, absolutely massive, to be fair. Look, was I involved in it? Yeah, did I ref Monday? Yeah, would I still have sat here and said that? 100%. You've seen the work that we do streaming the Women's Series. I thought the entire week was a real success. The only downside really is number of high-profile players missing, but then that leads to chances for other players, and it leaves the door wide open for another one. I've spoken to the team and look, very, very happy. There's certainly conversations for another one already. The opportunities that it provided, the standard of play. We saw multiple ton-plus averages from Fallon and Bo, as you used to, but Vicky Prum was fantastic all week. Rhiannon O'Sullivan picking up the title, thoroughly deserved. The 158 was absolutely stunning in that final to take out Fallon. But just as a whole, like the balance of it, the standard that they produced, entertaining throughout, really, really good week of darts. And when you think of the names not involved, Lisa Ashton, Mikuru Suzuki, Nolan van Leuven, Anastasia de
Robin
Bromislova, Gemma Hayter, who is flying through the ranks in a minute, Robin Byrne, who was already on holiday. It was just a fantastic week. And then we're listing this talent going, right, well, here's V2. We can bring in players that made finals night as a reward, perhaps. And then there's another 6 ready to go. Bang, bang, bang. And it sets a positive outlook for more. Plus, we get to see Rianne in the main series now, something that we've seen Fallon, we've seen Bo, we've seen Makuru play in the main, we've seen Trina Gulliver play. Really interesting to see what Rianne can do.
Yeah, look, I don't disagree.
Well, are we? Do we know? Has anything been announced? Are we getting another one anytime soon? I assume we are getting another one. Do we know if it is in the pipeline? Is it happening soon? Are we? Do we not quite? Are we not quite at that stage yet?
I don't know if anything's penciled in, but just by looking at everything, I would be amazed if we don't get one.
Yeah, but I mean, the team on the Saturday night said we will 95% likely do this again. It's just not in the calendar as solid. Obviously, every series is now broken up with a specials week. The end of Series 8 hasn't been confirmed as to what that specials week will be. I think there's a bloody good chance we see another Women's Week before Christmas.
Good. The more the merrier. I thought it was really good. And again, I think what there was people. I know, and I don't want to repeat what's already been said, but there were people highlighting players that weren't there. But then, God, these are probably the same people that moan about the Premier League being the same people every week and watching the same matches. The idea is that you can't have everybody there, so you want to be able to then run another event with different people. And then at some point, you can build something like, who knows, next year, there might be something that runs over a period of months and that you can get everyone slotted into a version 1 event, and then you can pull a final together from there. But in terms of just a kickoff, I thought it was thoroughly entertaining. It was a really, really watchable games, really good standard. Few surprise results along the way as well, which was what we want to see because it's more entertaining. Really, really good job. I thought it was great.
Yeah, no, the bits I saw were exceptional, and that's testament to the 12 ladies that played, which was great. Josh, I'd love to see a Yorkshire board week. I'm not sure we can get enough Yorkshire boards though. It would be great.
Yeah, that's the issue. The talk right now is around a quadro board week.
There's a massive issue.
Hello.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got you again. Oh no, we haven't.
One, the manufacturer, and 2, they just don't exist.
Yeah. I was going to say the fact that the board cannot be manufactured by anyone else is an issue.
Of course, yeah.
But look, it would be. Whilst we're talking about women, obviously the cut-off for the Women's World Match Play is approaching in just over 2 weeks' time. A lot of talk around Gemma Hayter right now. Can she gate crash the World Match Play? £2,100 behind the cut-off point. Is that too much?
No.
For one weekend?
Yeah. I mean, realistically, I think it's just too big because again, it's not about you picking up money. It's about you picking up more money than everybody else between you and there. I mean, it's possible. Mathematically, yes. If you asked me to put 50 pence on it, as good as she is, I'd probably have to say no. I think.
What are you saying, Gob?
Don't get me wrong, she had a fantastic weekend up in Middlesbrough. She was brilliant, and she really announced the fact that that she is back. But to walk into a room that is going to contain Bo Greaves getting tuned, losing the final, but I think she produced 6 ton plus averages in 3 days.
Yeah.
She's walking away going, my opponents are playing unbelievable against me. She's just gone 11, 15 herself and going, oh yeah, but they're playing really well against me. No matter when you're going 11, 15.
Yeah.
Lisa Ashton, finalist in Switzerland this weekend, will be there trying to stamp her. Like, there's a lot of PDC Women's Series experience in there that is, don't get me wrong, the ADC do a very good job at replicating that professional environment. Gemma's playing some lovely darts, but the fact is that everybody knows Gemma now. Everybody knows Gemma's walking back in DC and just going, right, I'm back, bang, I've got you in the first event, and catching everybody by surprise.
Yeah.
And I think if there was 2 weekends left, could I see her pinching an event and then accumulating enough money around that? 100%. It's not impossible that she rocks up, wins one for $2,000, and then is only just outside of it. But I think with the players we've just spoken about, I thought Kirsty Vienakainen was fantastic in the last week or so. If we see Suzuki there, getting tuned up for the match play as well. She's been playing a lot of soft tip recently. Then we can Bo and Fallon get ready. I just think there's too much in the mix right now.
Yeah, look, I think the race is going to be good. So, are we saying that Rianne in 6th is safe? Are we saying realistically it's only 7 and 8 they're playing for?
Yeah, probably. Because even if you get a really left field winner, there's just not enough money available for non-finalists, to really throw that into the mix. Yeah, I think 2 spots available at most, if maybe just 1.
Part of me really wants Anastasia to hold on. It'd be great to see her back playing on TV again after everything.
Is she playing under a Russian flag or is she playing under a neutral one?
Neutral, I believe.
You cannot have that fucking conversation and still talk about Saudi Arabia. Like, where do you draw the line? Like, honestly, it's fucking pick and choose, isn't it?
I believe it's a neutral.
Hell. Like, we're going to enforce that poor girl to play on under a neutral flag.
Even more conversation. The hypocrisy.
Oh, obviously because she's fucking instrumental, isn't she, Anastasia, in the fucking tanks rolling over the border. Jesus Christ! Make her play under a neutral flag. Fuck. Oh. Honestly, like that's the
that'll show him.
Like, and it is laughable. Like you can laugh at it. And you know what? I could laugh all day long if people just kept writing me checks for £1 million. Like, I make no mistake. Like, I am happy to sit and throw digs about the lack of moral firmness and people were not holding the line. But the moment there's an opportunity to go and talk about some darts over there and someone wants to write me a check, like, don't think for a minute I'll not fucking stick it all to one side because you only live.
I'll make Gary Lineker look fucking silly. You think what Gary Lineker did by taking in refugees and going, "Oh, this is abhorrent," but then working for the World Cup? Oh, mate, I'll swip like that for a tenner. But
I'll be vlogging from a Saudi Arabian soup kitchen. You watch me fucking go.
But by the way, Gob, you weren't on earlier when we were just chatting about it. Is Kingdom here to stay as the wrestling walk-on for that darts?
I would. I was the first one to message and say that.
Yeah. I understand. I was winding you up.
No, but seriously, look, that part of it isn't an issue. That part of wrestling isn't an issue for me. It's the fact that the outcome is scripted and it's men cuddling in Speedos and Doc Martens. They wouldn't be. Put it this way, if you wore that in the UK, you definitely wouldn't be allowed in Saudi.
Yeah.
If he times that, to be fair, he's got to get to the stage quicker, shake hands, and then be stood at the front of the stage for the pop.
No. You do it. We spoke about this earlier.
Yeah, you got two.
You have two pops. If it's a straight walk on, you stop halfway in the walk on, turn around and give a massive woe to the crowd in the walk on, and then do the second one at the front of the stage.
Nah, don't ever do it. Just one. Big it up on stage in front of everybody. None of this Daryl Gurney conducting a song that he doesn't know the words to, or Luke going, way. Just be done with it.
I love it. We had a winner in Switzerland. Paula Jacqueline's back in the winner's circle with the WDF boys.
God, I feel like you're setting them up
It's not
for me today.
Torremolinos.
Like you've fed me Saudi Arabia, neutral flags, and now you've set Paula Jacqueline out for expecting me to keep it in fucking boundaries.
You boys are getting it all tonight.
Oh dear me. Yeah, I mean that was a darts match that took place.
Coming up next, another game of darts. Cheers, Scott.
Another game of darts. A decent weekend.
I mean, he wasn't actually wrong, was he?
No. Yeah, a good weekend for Matt and his hunt for Lakeside. Some more ranking points.
Social media was positive. Certainly more positive than conversations I've had with him in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But the big story is the big man, Jimmy Van Schie, does not stop winning at the moment.
Yeah.
The man's on fire.
This is very impressive.
Yeah. We also saw former JDC England player, I want to say, Jensen Walker, winning the youth. We saw him at the Super Series last year. Looked a heck of a talent.
Yeah.
I think he had a half-decent run in the men's on the Sunday as well. The JDC England team is confirmed. Archie Self finished number one on those rankings. He's a talent. What a player he is. Narrowly edging out Jack Nankovitz, who's 13 years old in the rankings as well on the Advanced Tour. Frightening that those two are in a team together. The first winner of the post-Littler era on the JDC. What else have we missed this week?
Well, God, thanks for that. Good to have you on, Salesman77. See you next time. Pleasure as always. Oh,
Rog!
Yeah.
Rog took out 130.
Where's that come from?
That was against Connor Scott's manager. Yes!
Yeah.
We should have a manager's single event, shouldn't we? At the PDC. You know, have a markers event and whatever else. We should chuck all the managers in the pot at the end of the year. And winner gets first dibs on it. We should have a draft system coming out of Q School.
Oh, love that.
Big fan.
Love that.
Winner gets first dibs on the first qualifier through Q School. If they're not already managed.
This is this good one. We've almost forgotten about this. The PDC purchasing Dart Connect.
Oh, goody.
Is an interesting one.
Intriguing. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I've worked firsthand with Dart Connect. Obviously, they are the suppliers of technology for the World Seniors. It is a fantastic piece of kit. It is so easy. The amount of compliments I get for a really well-run weekend, I was like, Do you have any idea how basic my job is as tournament director? The most difficult bit is getting off my arse to rotate the boards on the Sunday morning. Because the software is absolutely fantastic. Honestly, like it is superb. And I hope that the PDC buying it means we get one essential upgrade.
Which is?
The stats page.
Right, okay, yeah.
Some of the stats that Dart Connect track simply aren't relevant to anybody and never will be. And there are pages and pages of some of that stuff if you scroll in through the event page and whatever else and the tour pages and X, Y, Z. But what I do want to know is double percentage. And that's got to be added in. And what that does mean, even if it's only a feature added in at Pro Tour or professional level, or you can choose to add it to your events, is you need to have a missed double function or how many darts attempt at this if a checkout doesn't go or whatever else.
Yeah.
But that's available in an awful lot of other scoring apps. If I use NO1, it will ask me how many darts I miss, or Dart Counter, for an example, will ask you how many darts did you attempt at checkout, how many darts did it take to take this checkout out, how many darts of double did you have?
Yeah.
And it's 2 buttons on a pop-up that then tracks double percentage.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Right.
Does that exist?
Right. Question time, everyone. Get your questions in then.
Oh, even better. Josh is saying it exists.
You're going to go hunting.
Mark, that's a choice from Mickey Mansell, by the way.
Yeah, I'll say
100%. I've got the event page for this weekend. I can choose what I set up. Actually, no, seniors complicate it enough. Some of them press the wrong button, go back to the home page of the app and think they've destroyed. I think it's the new coming of the Terminator.
Oh. Hey, while we wait for some questions, right? Do you know what's a good fact that we can say now that the date is what it is? Match play next month.
Oi!
That's good, isn't it? Blackpool next month, folks.
It's always good when the Winter Gardens is on the horizon, isn't it?
Yes! Summer's on the way.
Speak for yourselves. I live fucking further away than I used to now.
Oh, dear me. Terrible.
It's Ryan Serling, dark green. This is a good one. I like this. You mentioned MVG in comms. Which current player do you think would be the next commentator?
Current player. Right, well, is that a question? When you say the next commentator, is that like who do I think is going to retire next?
Right, who do you think will be the next Mark Webster type?
I don't want to curtail a promising career. I think Ross Smith speaks really well.
Yeah.
I mean, Merv.
Someone who's been at every level of the game. I think if Merv was going to do it, we'd have seen a bit of part-time Merv already. We've seen him have a crack at commentary on the Euro Tour, etc., and it never materialised into anything else. And I think we could have seen him in a Devon Peterson role when he was playing, commentating on the side a little bit, or start working his way across that. We haven't really seen that. I wonder if that will change at seniors level, if and when he makes that jump.
Possibly, yeah.
I actually think Martin Adams speaks really well, you know.
Yeah?
He does, yeah.
Not necessarily as a commentator, but as a pundit. I get the problem, I guess, now is that you're required to do both an awful lot. You can't just rock up and give opinions. A lot of them have to rock up and be able to commentate.
Yeah, that's the thing,
and I'm
because
not sure that's suited for everybody.
There are players that I think would do a really good job as a between game television pundit, answering questions and reflecting, analysing the game that's just taken place, given time to process it and formulate that into sort of sentences. But I think that live commentary is a very different skill, and you are asking a lot of people to be able to take on both of those in one. Lendo makes a good point. Whitlock would be all right. Whitlock speaks well. He's pretty honest. He's got a good grasp of the game. Nice accent.
Not for me.
I
Simon's quite a shy character, and I think trying to coax that out of him wouldn't be a good.
Yeah. Trying to think who else.
Bunting?
Potentially. Going Price.
James Wade.
Now both of you are taking the piss.
I'll tell you what I'd like to see. I think Joe Cullen would be very good. He'd be very straight on it.
He's just a long way away from it, though, isn't he? That's like the stage of his career.
Luke Humphrey speaks very well. Carries himself in a very good manner.
Luke speaks incredibly well, but again, he's world number one and world champion.
It's not like football, this, is it? Where you go, right, you're out for 6 months. We'll give you a couple of games on Sky.
Yeah.
And not that I'm wishing injury on any Dart player, but it's far more common in the Premier League to see someone like, I don't know, Van Dijk out and you get him on a Monday night.
Yeah. Or, like, could you imagine getting off the stage? You've just lost. Do you fancy coming doing a couple of days comms after they've just lost?
Yeah, no, thank you.
I'm not sure it's going to go down.
Have we gone past the obvious answer, which is Barney?
No. Yeah, but he just talk about himself.
Correct, but he's the most likely to be doing it, isn't he? Because he's got the name and the perceived credibility within the sport, and he's willing. Whilst people might not always be queuing up to listen to him, he's generally very willing to talk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I like it. I like it. I really do. Everyone, we are deep into Fergie time, so I want to say thank you very much to you all as always. But don't worry, we've still got some interviews coming out this week. We have got Ryan Meikle, Martin Adams to come out, and there's one more, and I can't think of it. It's off the top of my head. But we've got plenty of content coming your way. So if you haven't yet, make sure you drop us a like and subscribe to the channel as always. This will be available as audio only in the morning. But boys, what a show it's been. Myself, Phil Bars, Dan Simpson, Jack Garwood have enjoyed entertaining you for the last few hours. It's been our pleasure as always here at Online Darts, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Bye.